Hello my bits and bobs and welcome back to the channel. Today what we're going to be doing is a little bit different than what you might be used to up until this point. For the last several years I have made it a point to be almost overly scripted, to have kind of a plan for each video that I put out. As you could probably tell though, that does take a lot more effort and energy than I have. So, every so often, I would like to do a video kind of where I just sit and chat with y'all, you know? Today, what we're gonna do is talk about, well, video games, of course. Last year, in 2023, I kind of kept a list of games that I completed in the calendar year. I don't think it was completely, like, every single game, but most of them, if that makes sense. I think there were some that maybe slipped through the cracks. I'm not quite sure. But point being is that this is essentially just going to be me chatting with y'all about the games that I completed in 2023 and how, you know, my thoughts on them. I'll show some clips from the trailers and it'll be a big thing, you know. And of course, if you like the games that I'm talking about, I will have a link to where you can pick them up in the description below, you know, and let you know what platforms they're on and all of that. So, without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump into it with our first title of the video, and that is going to be Hi-Fi Rush. So Hi-Fi Rush is unfortunately in the public conversation very recently because the studio, Tango Gameworks, was shut down by Microsoft, in addition to Arcane Austin and another studio that I can't think of their name right now. So it's unfortunately that's the reason why you might have heard of Hi-Fi Rush recently if you didn't play it back at the beginning of last year. But before we get into my thoughts on the game, let me talk about the plot and kind of the gameplay style. So according to Steam, feel the beat as wannabe rock star Chai and his ragtag team of allies rebel against an evil robotics enhancement megacorp with raucous rhythm combat. From Tango Gameworks, the studio that brought you The Evil Within and Ghostwire Tokyo, comes Hi-Fi Rush, an all-new action game where the character's world and combat stylishly sync to the music. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. The Hi-Fi Rush was basically this beat-em-up action third-person exploration game where you had to attack enemies to the beat of the song that was playing, and it was kind of a niche way of distinguishing the combat from, you know, other games that are like it, and it was just a really fun experience. I honestly had no notes on it. It was a surprise too. It was one of those games that, like, it was announced. It was announced and then it released like in January of 2023. Actually, according to Steam, when was the release date? January 25th. And then I beat it 3 days later because I basically just consumed everything that this game had to offer in the 3 days that I had access to it. And it was just a really, really fun experience. And frankly, the fact that they shut down Tango Gameworks is a little infuriating to me because I honestly believe this is what happens when you have surprise releases. As fun of a surprise this game was, it should not have been a surprise release. It should have been planned. It should have released once we had already known about it so that people could plan to buy it. And two, it should not have been on Game Pass day one. I'm sorry, but this is a problem in video games because from a consumer standpoint, as someone who is a consumer who has participated in the Game Pass cycle, it's very handy, it's very helpful to play games that you might not be able to afford. But here's the thing. The average human being does not have an infinite amount of time to consume media like that, right? It's the same issue that we have with streaming services, okay? Everyone's complaining about streaming services costing way more than cable at this point. They do not cost more than cable if you are reasonable with the subscription services that you provide, that you purchase, right? If you only have what you really want to watch, then you do not have to worry about the prices of streaming services getting higher than cable, because you're probably spending no more than 20 or 30 bucks on streaming services. You do not have unlimited time to watch all that shit. In the same vein, you do not have unlimited time to play all the games that are on Xbox Game Pass, okay? Before Xbox Game Pass became a thing, the problem was always, I don't have the money to afford that game, so I'm just not gonna play it. And yes, that's a whole nother can of worms. That's a whole nother problem that is for another video. The whole, the games are getting more expensive. I get it. But if you just didn't have the money for the game, you did not play it. Or if you played it, it was later once it went on sale. But with Game Pass, now you can play anything. The problem is you're not buying the games. Sure, there are some people who, I admit, there are some people who may buy the games once they have finished playing them on Game Pass. I do not think that is the majority of people, though. I think that is just a very small minority of people who play the games and then buy them because it's the same kind of people who say, oh, I'm going to pirate the game and try it, and then if I like it, then I'll buy it. No, you won't. No, you won't. If you pirate the game, you're going to play it that version. You're not going to didn't take the money and go buy the game. No, that's just, you're not going to do that. And if you do, then you are a very unique kind of person, okay? But I digress. The reason I believe that this game did not do better than it did is because everyone played it on Game Pass. And anybody who didn't play it on Game Pass, of course, probably played it when they bought it. But by that point, it wasn't, no one was, it was probably months later, and it was just, it lost relevance. Apparently, from what I understand, they were working on Hi-Fi Rush 2 when they closed down the studio, which is like really sad, because here's the thing. I think that we are sadly lacking in the video game mascot department in the 2010s, 2020s. I feel like the 1990s and the 2000s, we had a lot of them. Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper. I feel like there was a lot of like mascots that had series that were like each game. Like I never played Sly, and I only played Jak and Daxter 1. But regardless, I feel like those kinds of games, they had iterative potential. They had time to improve. Each entry got better than the last in a lot of ways. Maybe not in every single instance, but in a lot of ways, that's what happened. I don't think we have that anymore. Like Ratchet and Clank is like very few and far between. It still exists, but it's just they're not making as many games as they used to because, of course, games are costing more and more to make. But it's just one of those things where Hi-Fi Rush, I think, had the potential to be the new mascot for Xbox, and they just completely all over it. So at the end of the day, I'm rambling about Hi-Fi Rush. I'm really sad to see that they're probably not going to have a sequel. I would like to believe that Tango, before they actually close down, if they haven't already, would sell that IP off to another studio and maybe bring the people who were responsible for making it to help to get them back on their feet and all that. I would like to see that happen so that we can get the number 2, but I'm not expecting it. I'm not going to hold my breath for it. Anyway, moving on to our next title. So this is a game that apparently released on the Game Boy Advance, and I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for it right now. Kururin. I played it on the Nintendo Switch Online GBA app. I do not know. I don't think it ever came officially. Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay, so it came to America for the first time in 2016 on the Wii U Virtual Console. But that's why I didn't ever really see it growing up. But I was really curious about the GBA app. I wanted to play something that had that kind of nostalgic feel to it. And so I picked up Kururin. Just a kind of an overview here. The player controls a slowly spinning stick called the Helirin, or the helicopter in the European localization, and must maneuver it through a series of mazes without touching the walls. So it's an obstacle course game where you have to maneuver your little player character through a very, very challenging obstacle course, and basically just that's the level design, right? I found it to be really interesting. I found it to be really addicting, fun. I wanted to master it. I don't think I did. I know I beat it, but I don't know if I like got all the top ratings on every level or not. But point being is that even though I never played it when I was a kid, and even though it never really released in America until 2016, I had felt a little nostalgic. You know, I kind of felt like it had a lot of aesthetics from that era that I was a real fan of while I was playing it. It was just really simple, really cute. I just, I dug it. Honestly, I would love to see more games like this in this series. Apparently, it did receive two Japanese-only sequels called Kururin Paradise and Kururin Squash. But, I mean, obviously, we're probably not going to get those either. I don't really know, to be honest with you. But I would like to see this series make a resurgence if we if the powers that be are looking to revitalize something, give us a remaster on Switch or something. I don't know. But anyway, moving on from there. Next up, we have a game that, honestly, as sad as it is to admit, I forgot that this game existed until I was looking at the list. And I was like, oh yeah, I did play that. And it's not because it's a bad game. It's not. It was actually a really good game. It's just that I've been through the ringer since March 2023, and it makes sense that I forgot, because that honestly feels like a lifetime ago. But anyway, this is Meg's Monster, okay? Meg's Monster, I'll read the description real fast before I get into that. It released on March 2nd, 2023. I completed it on March 2nd because it's a very short experience. But take control of the underworld's grumpiest school to help a lost little girl find her way home in this creepy, cute indie adventure. Just be warned, if she cries, the whole world dies. That's the premise of this game, right? The idea is that it's very Undertale-esque. If I'm not mistaken, the beginning is very Undertale-esque in the sense that it's a world inhabited by monsters, and the little girl falls from the human world, and and basically you play as Roy, who has to kind of take actions in these RPG battles to make sure that Meg does not cry, because if she does, then it's game over for everybody. I think I am going to include this in a future episode of Indie Impact. It may not be for a while, but I do want to revisit this at some point, so keep an eye out for that if that's of interest to you. But honestly, I really had a good time with this. It's super short. You really don't have to give too much of your time, as long as you I'd say at most 4 hours. 3-4 hours is probably a safe estimate for how long this game is. And it's just, I don't know. It's just really, it was just a really heartfelt, really emotional roller coaster ride, and I have nothing but good things to say about it. So definitely check out Meg's Monster if you're looking for that kind of Undertale-esque experience. But yeah, moving on from there. Okay, so next up is a twofer, because these are the first games that I played after being let go from my job in mid 2023. I was like, you know what? I'm going to sit down and I'm going to play Mega Man and Mega Man 2. So Mega Man and Mega Man 2, what hasn't been said about Mega Man and Mega Man 2? They're fantastic, epitomal examples of 2D platforming, and they are the granddaddy of 2D platforming, or whatever you want to say. Point being is they're really fun. Honestly, I played Mega Man 2 and I beat Mega Man 2, I believe, back in the early 2010s. But I re-explored that one, but I had never beaten Mega Man 1. It was always really hard, and I was unable to really get past a certain point. So, full disclosure, I did take advantage of the Wii U Virtual Console's pause and rewind feature. I feel like that was needed. And some may say, well, that you technically didn't beat it. Yes, I did. Shut the f*** up. Yes, I did. But anyway, that's Mega Man and Mega Man 2. I'm not going to spend too much time on those because, frankly, everyone knows what they are at this point. So next up is a game that I have been playing on and off since I was a literal child, and I actually made a video about this shortly after I finished playing it. Well, I say shortly, more like 3 or 4 months after I finished playing it. Killer 7, right? Killer 7 by Suda51, Grasshopper Manufacturer. Yes, Killer 7. Let me read this real quick, and then I will get to my thoughts on that. Sneak into a world of underground assassins as Harmon Smith, a man who manifests 7 deadly personalities like the Killer 7. Take control of this distinct murderer's row as they hunt down the sinister Kunlan to thwart his plan of world domination. So, Killer 7, I have a video talking all about this game on my channel that you should all go watch after this is done. And I'll actually put it in the cards right now. But, no, it's a really fun rail shooter. The idea is like you basically have to press A, or on the GameCube controller, you have to press A to move forward or back, or B to turn around, and you just move that way. You don't control it with like the directional pad. So it's what you would call an on the rail shooter. Just really weird, really fascinating. If you like games that don't make sense but do at the same time, definitely check that out. I think that you'll really enjoy it. But yeah, and I do feel like I still feel like they need to put out a remastered version of this game, like Killer 7 Plus or whatever, with all the content added back in. Give us a remaster. I think it would look beautiful on like the Switch hardware, or even PS5. Honestly, in any case, that's all I gotta say about that. If you want more, you want to hear more, like I said, go watch the video. And until then, we are moving on. So next up, we have a game that took me forever to actually get into. This is Yakuza Kiwami 2. Yakuza Kiwami 2. I bought this on Steam back in like 2020, because that was around the time when I picked up Yakuza 0 and Kiwami 1. Had a blast with both of those. I had such a hard time getting into Kiwami 2. But at the same time, once 2023 was when I actually managed to like sit down. I think it was on PS. I think I got it on PS Plus, and I think having it on a PlayStation console made it feel more possible to get into this game, if that makes sense. I do have a feeling like, because I did not get a gaming PC until I was well into my 20s, I feel like because I was so old when I got it, it was very hard for me to adjust my brain to, play games like that on PC only. Even with the controller, it just feels weird to me. Like I haven't quite gotten used to it. Like I will play games on PC, don't get me wrong. But it's like, if I have a choice, certain games are just better on console for me. And so I think that's the only thing that I can explain, that explains why I prefer to play Yakuza on a console as opposed to PC. I don't really get it myself, but whatever, man. Point being is that it was once I got into it, though, it was a really good entry. I feel like the Yakuza series, it's mostly the same game every time. Like generally, I've played 3 of them, and they're mostly the same game, just with slight differences, and that's okay. But that means that I'm gonna try to just take a year or 2 in between each one, and by the time I'm like 70, I'll have beaten Infinite Wealth. But I don't know. I just need time. Like Yakuza 3, I've started it. I just can't seem to push myself through it, really. But I'm gonna give it another try in a little bit, and hopefully that will change. But point being is that Kiwami 2 was great. I think that it was a fantastic game. It wasn't as good as 0. 0 is still the pinnacle for me, but I think that's not exactly a hot take. I think everyone seems to enjoy 0 more than the rest of the series. I don't know. But anyway, moving on from there. So next up on the list, I had The Legend of Zelda, which I know I did actually formally complete The Legend of Zelda, like the original one, in 2023, and that was a good game. But I want to spend this time talking a little bit more about the fact that I didn't include Tears of the Kingdom whenever, because I know I completed that during 2023, and honestly, so like I said, Legend of Zelda is a great game. First one, it's a classic. It's the game that inspired all of the rest. But Tears of the Kingdom was so good. It was so good. It was like I spent so much time just exploring the world, just like completing the map, both on the surface and in the sky and in the depths, before I really got too heavy into the story. I mean, I know I did the story too, but like there were hours that I spent just exploring the world. It was such a good game. And like the crafting system was just, oh, it was just top tier. It was fantastic. I honestly, that said, it was a great game, but I do think that it needs to end, or like that style of game needs to end with Tears of the Kingdom. I cannot tell you how tired I am of stamina controls, of climbing up 3/4 of a mountain only to run out of stamina and fall all the way to the bottom again. That infuriated me so much. So I think we need to go to a different style after this. I think that this was a cool departure from the norm, but like let's revolutionize it again with the next game. Please, for the love of all that's holy, let's do that. But no. Aside from that, I love Tears of the Kingdom. It's fantastic, and if you haven't played it yet, you should definitely pick it up, especially if you like open world games that give you basically all the freedom in the world to do whatever you want whenever you want. So next up in the year, I guess you could say, I decided to pick up, or I played on PS Plus, I believe, What Remains of Edith Finch. So What Remains of Edith Finch is a very interesting story-based, lore-based game that, actually, let me read the description first before I get into my thoughts on it. What Remains of Edith Finch is a collection of strange tales about a family in Washington State. As Edith, you'll explore the colossal Finch house, searching for stories as she explores her family history and tries to figure out why she's the last one in her family left alive. And honestly, I really had a good time with this one. It was so beautiful. The visual styling was beautiful. The aesthetic was fantastic. It made me feel like there was always something kind of around the corner that like was going to get me, but there never really is. It's very just moody storytelling and just pure aesthetic wrapped up into with a big old Tim Burton-esque bow. Honestly, like the house is brilliantly designed. The fact that like it basically has all the secrets that you could possibly imagine that no real house would have, but in this world it makes perfect sense that it would exist. And I just had a really good time with it. I think I completed it like in a day, because it was so enthralling, but it was also just, it was one of those games where you can't really spend too much time on it because it doesn't have a huge runtime, if that makes sense. But no, it was a brilliant game, and I kept wondering like what exactly has been happening, and what was the reason why everyone's dead, is there a reason for it, or what was it? It's just the mysteries are astounding, really. But yeah, no, I played that, and that was a really interesting one. But moving on from there. Okay, so we've reached our last 3 games of the video, or of the year, and of the video. Next up on the list is Baldur's Gate 3. Now, to clarify, I'm not going to name names, and I'm not going to give any free marketing to these companies, but I was writing about video games for a lot of time during 2023. In fact, I started the year writing about video games, and I almost ended the year writing about video games. Not quite, but almost. Anyway, so when the PS5 version of Baldur's Gate 3 came out, I was given a PS5, or I through a roundabout means I wasn't given a code, but I bought one and I was reimbursed or whatever. And I basically spent every waking hour playing Baldur's Gate 3, and I loved it. It was a fantastic game. Real quick, though, again, let me just read this before I get into my thoughts. Baldur's Gate 3 is a story-rich, party-based RPG set in the universe of Dungeons & Dragons, where your choices shape a tale of fellowship and betrayal, survival and sacrifice, and the lure of absolute power. I loved this game, right? I spent so much time. I claim to be an unofficial expert on a lot of the missable stuff that you would not normally know is there, because I had to do it. I had to basically live in this universe for basically an entire month. The entire month of October was I think it was October, was spent just eating Baldur's Gate 3, breathing Baldur's Gate 3. Injecting it into my veins wholesale. It's just, I can't do that with every game ever, but like, it was my job, so I did it. But anyway, no, I'm not really a huge D&D guy. I mean, I enjoy playing it, but it was never really my forte until it wasn't really my thing, should I say, until I picked up Baldur's Gate 3. In fact, like a week after I beat it, I went to a campaign in my town, and I played as my character in Baldur's Gate 3. I played as a barbarian named Steve. Frankly, I don't know, it was just a really fun experience, and honestly, I need to go back and play it again just to get an idea of like the updates and stuff. I know that they've had some updates, and I haven't really experienced those, but it's a brilliant game, fantastic. I have no notes on that. Moving on from there. Okay, so next up we have Spider-Man 2 on PS5. So I was really excited for this one. I think that in the lead up to it, I was like, whoa, this is going to be like my first actual PS5 game, because I just got PS5 in September of last year. And I was like, this is going to be my first actual legit. I mean, Baldur's Gate 3, sure, but like, I'm talking like games that are made for the PS5. And this was it. I had a really good time with it. I mean, I think towards the end, I just kind of petered out, and I was get it, Peter Parkered out, yeah. But I didn't really like carry any of it with me, if that makes sense. But here's the description here. Swing, jump, and utilize the new web wings to travel across Marvel's New York, quickly switching between Peter Parker and Miles Morales to experience different stories and epic new powers as the iconic villain Venom threatens to destroy their lives, their city, and the ones they love. But yeah, no, I mean, like I said, it was a brilliant visual experience. The game itself is really fun. There's a lot of stuff that happens in this game that probably couldn't happen on the PS4 version of the game. But I do feel like once it was over, it was just over, if that makes sense. A lot of the, like, I'm not going to carry with me any one moment from Spider-Man 2. I just, okay, cool, I beat it. Moving on to the next game in a way. But yeah, I mean, if they put out another one, I'll be glad to play it. But if they don't, I'm not going to be heartbroken either, if that makes sense. And last on our list is a game that I picked up at the exact same time as Spider-Man 2, and that is Super Mario Bros. Wonder. See, I believe they came out on the exact same day, and I pre-ordered both from GameStop, and I went that night to pick both of them up. And it was a line, but like everybody in the line was clearly getting one or the other. And I was like one of the only ones who was like, I got both, motherfuckers. But it was a great Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I loved that game. I loved it so much. I spent so much time just like, scouring it for all of the collectibles, all the secrets. It was just a really fun experience. And it reminded me of when 3D World plus Bowser's Fury dropped on Switch. I bought that, I believe, day one or near it anyway, and I spent so much time just like devouring every ounce of that game, completing everything with every character, etc., etc. I'm pretty sure I did anyway. Either way, it feels like I did. And with this game, I felt like it was just another really solid Mario experience. A lot of people said, oh, well, Charles Martinet's not going to be Mario anymore, so it's not going to be the same. I think that, I can't remember who is the new actor. I'm not going to say names just in case I forget. But either way, they did fantastic as a with Mario. I think that like the character is in good hands with this new actor. But yeah, no, I think it was just a solid experience. I never did complete the big bonus level at the end because it was so hard. But like aside from that, it was just a really, really fun game. And I'm honestly looking forward to whatever direction we go when the next Mario game is. I would hope that we're going to get Mario Odyssey 2 soon, but like I don't believe it until I see it, honestly, at this point. But yeah. So that's all she wrote. That's the games that I played in 2023. Thank you for watching. If you decided to watch this far into the video, I am keeping an active list of games that I am playing in 2024. So if you like this video and you want to see me do another one, probably in January or February of next year, where I kind of talk about all the games that I played this year, then let me know in the comments. At this point, I'm just doing what y'all want me to do, and also what I want to do, and where the the Venn diagram is. If you like this, go check out my other stuff. I mean, like, I know that lately I've been posting some different stuff that y'all may not be used to, and some of it's performing better than others, but like, if you like that stuff, go check out some of this video, or go check out my video essays or whatever, because I think y'all would enjoy them, and I also just really want y'all to watch them. So in the meantime, this has been Pixcelation, reminding each and every one of you to stay pixelated, and I'll see you next time.